You're cruising for a big nap this afternoon, aren't you?
Literally, the Investopedia note's going to go out at 4:30, and I'll be asleep before 5.
What's happening, everybody? It's your boys, Steve Strazza, Sean McLaughlin, Chicago Sean. How's everybody doing? Steve, how are you doing?
Good, man. Tired. Long weekend. Just traveled all the way back from St. Petersburg. 7 hours, but
You broke all kinds of traffic laws to get back in time for us to record this session, so thank you for that. The speed limit is 65 on the highway, Strazza, not 95. It's I-95. That's not the speed limit.
I wanted to get back before the close. PPI rally or whatever's going on.
Yeah, so you were asking me what happened today in the market, and we've had three big things that happened in the market today. At least from where I'm standing, we had the market gapped a huge gap higher at the open today, catching everybody by surprise. It feels like with the PPI and Walmart earnings, and then a little over an hour ago, we had a pretty crazy sell-off in the S&P. I got the S&P chart up on my screen. I mean, on the daily chart, if you look here, it doesn't look all that significant. On the intraday chart, which is here to the left, I mean, this was a pretty nasty little sell-off here that lasted about 30 minutes. And if you pull up VIX, kind of you see a similar story, right? Just a big spike intraday in VIX with some news coming out of some missiles landing in Poland or something, something war related. And it's almost like financial markets forgot that there was a war going on, and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, volatility's really been cruising lower for, over a month now? So
yeah, it's been pretty steadily declining since about the third week of October. You can kind of see it here in my chart. I mean, it's just like day after day, VIX declining with a little bit of choppiness here in the last week. But still, I don't know. I don't know what that tells us, Strazza. I don't know if we're out of the woods. I know you guys are getting pretty bullish over there. The research guys are starting to get pretty bullish because you're seeing a lot of things under the hood that are looking good. But I still feel like the narrative, at least, the emotions of the market still feel a little bearish to me. But hey, only price pays, right?
Listen, it's going to take price to turn sentiment. So that's going to come after the bottom. For us, I think it's just we're looking for stocks to buy. We think the bottom's in, but there could be a lot of sideways, a lot of messiness, a lot of chop here. That's kind of what bottoming is made of, and it looks like today's just another good example of it.
For sure. Well, today this is the Follow the Flow show, or the Flow show, where we talk about unusual options activity, and we use that as an input to dig into some opportunities. So Strazza, why don't you pull up that Follow the Flow chart, and let's walk through it. What's standing out to you?
So it's no secret that gold has been absolutely ripping since earlier this month. About 2 weeks now. So we had a short list this week. You should be able to see it here. But we did have 2 gold miners on it. So Kinross, KGC, that was from Tuesday. And then we also had Goldfields Limited, GFI, the following day.
Wow.
So, and here's what a chart of gold looks like, kind of, breaking that downtrend line. So carving out a bottom here. There's a silver to gold ratio, which shows us, if investors are favoring silver, that means kind of the animal spirits are alive and well in the precious metals space. So maybe this is the beginning of something. I think these are 2 pretty good names to use as vehicles if you do want to get long.
Well, I can tell you, I've been feeling that move in gold, and not in the way I like to feel it. I've been short an option strangle in December options that I keep having to adjust my calls and move them further away as the market continues to rally. So I'm on the wrong side of that trade right now, so I'm not too happy about it, but it's definitely happening.
Well, this could be a good hedge then. How about GFI? Look at this chart. Rip back into the range. It's an absolute mess, but we do at least have some levels here. So we're thinking against 10, maybe towards 15, short-term trade.
Yeah, the problem, well, it's not a problem, but if as options traders, if we wanted to get involved in GFI, a couple things we need to be aware of. Number one, the volatility looks relatively high. So if you're thinking about buying calls, you're going to be paying up for them. I'm not sure about the liquidity here. Let's pull up the liquidity. Uh, yeah, there's good enough liquidity there. The bid-ask spreads are tight enough, and there's enough open interest. So we could play it. I would think that though, if this is something I wanted to play on the long side, I wouldn't just go buy the 9 calls like this, where the unusual activity is that we've seen. And that's definitely a short-term play, right? I mean, those options expire end of this week. But if we think that guy knows something, what day were those calls bought?
They were the 9th, so Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, they had a couple of good days there.
Right.
I mean, they may have already unwound that position. Who knows? Maybe they knew something was going on, but I don't know. I mean, I got to be honest, Strazza, it doesn't feel like a play to me. Like it doesn't feel like something I would want to play. But gun to my head, if I had to play it, I would probably play it with a call spread, some kind. Maybe buying the 12 calls and selling 14 calls against it, that kind of thing, just to reduce my cost and give me better odds of success.
Check out KGC. Is it the chart you don't like, or the premium and liquidity? Mostly.
There's no options in KGC, by the way.
KGC? Yeah, there is.
I typed in the wrong ticker. Excuse me. Yeah, of course there's options. There's lots of liquidity here in this one. Let's look at that chart. This chart I feel a lot better about. I just feel like that the GFI chart feels like whoever was playing those very short-term options was playing for a quick move, and I think they got that move. Yeah. And the trade's over. I could be wrong.
It ripped, the 2 days after they got into it, peaked out there. And then, it's kind of flagging here, though.
Yeah, this KGC definitely feels like a better trade. I feel like 350, 365, 375 is a good, level of risk management. Maybe even 390.
Yeah, you would give it that much? All the way to 360?
Yeah, in percentage terms, that's a pretty huge move, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
maybe below 4.
Yeah, use the pivot highs. Yeah, 4, and you got the pivot lows there from May too.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and you know what I'm going to say here is that this is a $4 stock. You might as well just buy the common and just roll it.
You hate the low price stocks.
I just don't see the reason to buy options in low price stocks. But hey, if this is a stock that's going to double in price, and you bought, let's say, these December 450 calls that are just a little bit out of the money, and you paid 15 cents for them, I mean, you're going to get a significant percentage return. So if you're a gambler, the options are for you.
I think you bring up a good point here, though. Both of these charts, they're not something that we would, look through all of the GDX components and say, this is the one. These aren't the best charts. They're simply vehicles, right? So gold has kind of like come back to life. Silver too. We're finally seeing the miners work, the silver miners work. The whole precious metals space seems to be turning. Could say the same about base metals, right? Copper's been great for the past 2 weeks. So I think really the trade here, the better trade, would to just be go to the index. Use GDX, use GDXJ if you're really looking for exposure, especially GFI. I mean, this thing really ripped. It's extended, got super overbought. Maybe this is just a high and tight flag. You get another leg higher. But I think that, if you're looking for a bet on gold, you have nice ETFs that you could use as vehicles.
Right. Well, I'm going to throw you a curveball here real quick, Strazza, because you kind of jogged my memory there when you were talking about the sectors doing well. The research team had a piece out, I think it was this morning, talking about how more and more sectors, at least in the U.S., in the U.S. stock market, are now trading above their 200-day moving average, which doesn't jive with the bearish narrative that seems to be out there, right?
Yeah, JC must have wrote about that. I tweeted that chart yesterday. It's that chart really, I think, for me, speaks to the fact that bottoms are a process, right? So even though we're not even close to those August highs, a ton more sectors beneath the hood are now back above their 200-day. That's because when 200-day starts, just kind of flattening out and curling higher, you can kind of chop sideways with an upward bias and still make progress. That's really what's going on here. I think a lot of sectors are carving out nice bases. It's really the value stocks too that are assuming leadership.
Right. JC has been pointing out that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is less than 8% from highs.
It's crazy, right?
It is crazy. I mean, who would have thought? That surprised me. I mean, it shouldn't surprise me, but it did surprise me.
Yeah, Caterpillar. What is it? 6% from all-time highs? Crazy. It was at new 52-week lows about a month ago, late September. So.
Yeah. Well, I would say this, Strez. I think the signs are pointing. There's a couple things that we discussed here that are pointing to improving markets, right? I mean, we just talked about the sectors. There's a lot of sectors. More and more sectors every day seem to be getting above the 200-day moving average. So that speaks to value and strength and relative strength happening, which leads bull markets. And it's not always obvious at the beginning, but as more and more sectors point the way, that feels like what's happening. And then secondly, we're seeing speculative bullish action in the options market, right? I mean, metals being the ones we talked about today, but we've been seeing a lot, I feel like, over the last couple of weeks, especially in short-term options. Most of the big earnings are out of the way now. So when you're seeing aggressive options bets, they're not necessarily earnings related binary events where you often will see a lot of options trades where people are trying to hedge their risk going into a binary event. I feel like the big trades we're seeing now are definitely more speculative in nature.
No, it's a great point, right? It's hard to tell when there's an earnings report coming out. Once it's behind you, you'd think, that position's probably closed out. Another thing I'll add, maybe a little bit more anecdotal evidence, right? Like our our options list here, is insiders have been buying in size and really coming out. Things were dead through the summer, even up until about a month ago, but we're really seeing insider activity pick up. Some big Form 4 filings lately. So,
well, there you go, folks. We don't have any specific trade for you today from the list. I was kind of saying earlier this week, and that was even before today's opening spike, that as we're getting increasingly, we're all of us here at All Star Charts are getting a little bit more comfortable with the bullish narrative. But right now, at least in the short term, it's hard buying some of these charts. So there's a lot of stocks that have had big runs in the last 2 weeks. It's hard stepping in now. I feel like, a little pullback would be constructive, would be good. So we could see where the relative strength remains. And then maybe we'll get some good entries with some good risk management levels.
Yeah, I think that's another good point. Let give things room here. Dollar looks like maybe it's making a short-term low. It's been really weak. So maybe you get some mean reversion here. There's no reason to rush in, especially not in this type of an environment.
Right. All right. Well, Strazza just got off the road from a 7-hour drive. He needs a nap. So we're gonna pull a plug in this one. Thanks for tuning into the Flow Show. Strazza, thanks for making it home in time. Thanks for breaking all the speed limit laws in Florida. Brandon, we're done. Thanks, everybody.